Hey, Joe Zarzaur here with Dr. Malone for another segment of Zarzaur Law TV. Dr. Malone is the board-certified internal medicine physician that consults in our injury and death cases. He provides, obviously, invaluable medical expertise in regards to our clients. We're here today to talk about something that's really sort of the bread and butter of the firm, that's car wrecks. Many times, the car wreck clients that we deal with are not from here. We're in Florida, we're in a resort area, we're next to the most beautiful beach, in my opinion, in the country, and it's easy for folks to be distracted, even if they're in some other place, much less somewhere where there's plenty of stuff to look at. So if you've got cell phones that are distracting everybody these days, and you add to that beautiful scenery like we have here, you're upping the ante on a car wreck, coupled with the fact that people are driving where they're not used to driving. So that is all a recipe for car wrecks. And when there is a car wreck in your own vacation in Florida, there are certain things that happen that may not happen in other states. You're most likely going to have a car wreck with somebody from Florida. That is generally what happens. It's rarely two tourists that have car wrecks. It's usually a tourist either causing the wreck or being the subject of a wreck, and the Florida resident being on the other side of the situation. When that happens, it's important to understand that the Florida resident has Florida insurance and you have whatever state you're from. And so what that means is the Florida resident has certain protections through Florida's car insurance laws that actually protect them from being sued for anything unless the person that actually gets hurt jumps through certain hoops. And so it's really important for the out-of-state person that's involved in a car wreck in Florida to make sure they jump through the right hoops and make sure they get legal advice quickly. In fact, if you don't get certain things done within the first couple of weeks in a car wreck in Florida, you actually lose rights to sue a Florida resident who may have caused your wreck. That is stuff that we've gone into in other videos. It's called personal injury protection. It's called PIP coverage. The Florida resident has to protect himself or herself from a situation. Non-PIP states are not subject to those rules many times and most of the time. But if you happen to be from a PIP state and you're in a car wreck with a Florida resident, you will be subject to those rules. So if you're not familiar with all this, it's important that you talk to a board-certified civil trial lawyer in Florida. Obviously, I'm one of those people about those situations. What I wanted to ask Dr. Malone to do was also talk about the things to look out for if you're in a car wreck in Florida. We always say you should get your medical care checked out first, no matter even if you feel perfect, because many times you don't know what you have. And most of the clients that I represent actually had no idea that they had a disc injury in their back or their neck because they got a clean CT scan. And we've done this in these videos where we've told them the difference between a CT scan and an MRI, and how the CT scan at the ER is really only there to show bleeds or fractures. And if you don't have a bleed or fracture that's going to kill you in 48 hours, they're done looking for stuff there. So Dr. Malone is going to tell us a little bit more about what to look for and some more recent things that have come out in the medical literature about the association between car wrecks and fatal injuries.
Yeah. As Joe mentioned, some of the soft tissue injuries is what he's referencing, where there's no overt fracture or trauma on the preliminary workup. That's great. You're walking, talking, no injury at all. And so then later on you have some sort of a strain or sprain of some sort that will cause you issue.
Well, and the ER doctor says to you, they put a generic whiplash injury, or they say cervical strain or back strain, and they say to you, your CAT scan was clear, your x-rays were clear, and everybody leaves the ER thinking, well, nothing happened.
Yep.
And 90% of the clients I represent have permanent injuries with that same report from the ER. Go ahead. Sorry.
And as Joe referenced, that's probably the majority of what people's complaints are. The red flags that I want to alert everybody to, again, just being a steward of your own health, are if you or one of your loved ones who's in the accident has got other comorbid conditions, it just puts you at much higher risk for some sort of a bad outcome. And so to make the decision to not seek medical care, even if it's beyond the ER, like you've gone to the ER and they've done the quick and dirty, okay, there's nothing wrong, If 2 days later still something doesn't feel right and you have some of these other comorbid conditions, don't sit at home and just wait for it to get better, because it's probably not going to. And this is something that could cause decompensation of your comorbid condition. It could cause worsening of an underlying injury that's not been diagnosed yet. Things like that would be if you have a history of spine problems, if you have a history of a brain injury, and if you're on an anticoagulant of some sort, be it over-the-counter aspirin, or if it's a prescribed medication that your doctor has you on for another condition. And then the newest one is if you have a cardiac arrhythmia. Atrial fibrillation is the specific one that was studied. And this is by the AFib. And this was studied by Mayo Clinic. It's very preliminary, but initial information is showing that you're at risk, basically 1.5 times the risk of having an adverse outcome after a motor vehicle accident if you have AFib. And not quite sure as to the whole mechanism yet, but that's the kind of stuff that you can't ignore if you're feeling just something not right. And it's not going to be outright chest pain or shortness of breath stuff. It's just, hey, grandma's acting kind of weird after that car accident, let's get her checked out. She may have had atrial fibrillation, for instance, for years, and no one ever thought, oh, yep, she just has it. Well, that might be a complicating factor now, so you can't ignore it.
Okay. The journal article you referenced, is that something we can put up on the web? Okay. Mm-hmm. The journal article he referenced that ties AFib to bad outcomes after following car wrecks is something we're going to put up and cite as part of this video on the, I guess, our blog or Facebook page, but it will be linked up somehow. If you have any questions about car wrecks or car insurance questions in Florida after wrecks, you can find us on the web at zarzaurlaw.com, or you can call us 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you.